G'day guys, yes I'm back. I didn't fall off the face of the earth. This video was supposed to go up yesterday, New Year's Day, but my internet connection was in and out all day for some reason, and I figured I'd just postpone it one day and put it up, so here it is. The idea for this video actually came from one of my subscribers. It was Ryan X Havoc. He's a young guy over in Massachusetts. And he sent me a video regarding Area 51, and it's something that I've been interested in for a long time. It sort of goes back to when I was a kid. I was about 8 years old, and I saw what people would call a UFO. And I'm not crazy. I'm not imagining things. I'm not one of these crackpot lunatics that likes to make stuff up for attention. This is just something that I'm interested in. So I'm 8 years old and I was in bed. It was probably about 10 o'clock at night. It was in the summertime, so there was still a tiny bit of daylight left. And I'm laying in bed and I'm looking out of the window, and there was these three, what I can only describe as three big balls of light. And when I say balls of light, I don't mean like balls. I mean they were the size of a small car. I mean, they were a good size. And they just whizzed past my window, one after another, three of them. And I jumped out of bed and I ran to the window and sort of looked out, and I couldn't really see anything. I couldn't see where they'd gone, which direction they'd gone, or anything. Now, this was one of those things where, I mean, throughout your life you have memories of when you were a kid and stuff, and some of them really stick with you, and this one really has. And I'm 38 now and I can still remember it vividly. And I've always wondered what they were. I've always wanted an explanation. Of course there isn't any, but let me tell you about something that happened a couple of weeks ago now. And this was something that happened in broad daylight, and let me tell you about it. You can make your own conclusions, draw your own conclusions, and let me know what you think. So there I am. It's a couple of weeks before Christmas. It's broad daylight. I'm standing in front of my house. It's not snowing. The sun's shining. The sky is, you know, like the winter sky. It's blue. There's hardly any clouds, and there's nothing to sort of interfere with anything that you might be seeing up there or anything like that. Okay, so there I am. I'm standing outside my house. And I just happened to look up, and I looked up towards this direction, and I spotted what I thought originally was a plastic bag, a white plastic bag. You know what they look like when they sort of get taken up by the wind and they're flying around and stuff. And I looked at it and I'm watching it. Of course, I'm just watching it and not really paying that much attention, but so I'm watching this, what I think is a plastic bag, and while I'm watching it, on either side of this thing, coming from exactly the same direction but at triple the speed, are two smaller things that, I mean, they look exactly the same. It's kind of like a translucent white is how I would describe it. Anyway, these two things came tearing past the original object, went straight past it on the same trajectory and disappeared. They just off into the distance and they disappeared. So I'm still watching this other thing. I'm like, holy crap, what was that? So I'm watching the larger object, the thing I saw initially, and it's going in a straight line. It's not going around like a plastic bag would. You know, it's not sort of going with the different currents of air and stuff. It's going what seems to be under its own steam, under its own power, in a straight line. And it goes over the top of my house, and it goes across the street, and there's some woods, a small section of woods behind the houses across the street there. And as I'm watching it, it stopped, and it sort of sat there in mid-air for a second, and then it moved to the left, and then it stopped again, and then it moved up to the right and stopped again, and then proceeded on its way on the original trajectory that it was traveling on originally. And it kind of freaked me out, because I mean, when I say it looked like a plastic bag, I mean the look of it. That I mean the what am I trying to say? That's how it looked. It wasn't shaped like a plastic bag. I mean, this thing was round. Okay, there was no handles or anything like that. I mean, it wasn't a plastic bag. It's just that was the kind of texturey kind of. That's how it looked. And yeah, that got me thinking too. And that's twice. That's twice in 38 years that I've seen something that I can't explain. One of them in broad daylight. Now, I wish I had my camera with me, but I didn't, of course. You never really do when something cool happens like that. But I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on this, the UFOs and the alien conspiracy, if you like. I don't know if it's much of a conspiracy. I mean, I believe that they're here, they've been here, they've probably been here longer than we have. You know, I mean, that's my thought. I mean, it's my thought that Area 51 probably does have alien spacecrafts. They probably are reverse engineering the spacecraft and stuff like that. And I believe that there's probably alien species or beings or whatever it is you want to call them actually working with the government in places like Area 51. I have read quite a bit about this alien breeding program that is supposedly going on there. Apparently the aliens are trying to bridge a breakdown or a gap in their DNA, their genetic structure, and there is supposedly a breeding program with humans going on to try and bridge that gap and save their species. Now, as far as I know, or from what I can gather, the government is in on this. The government knows about it. They're participating actively in it in exchange for technological advancements and help from this other alien species. Now when I say alien species, I mean there is apparently over 50 categories of alien species that have made contact with Earth at some point or another over the last few hundred years, I guess. But what are your guys' thoughts on this? Do you believe that we're not alone here? Do you believe that we're being visited? Do you believe that they're walking amongst us in everyday life? Do you believe that the government is in on this and that they're covering up every chance they get? So leave a comment, leave a response, and maybe even tell us your story. Go ahead and tell it. If you haven't told it, get it out there so that everybody else can draw their own conclusions. I'm not going to call you crazy. I completely believe it. I think the crazy ones are the people that think it's fantasy, because sure enough, one day it's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of people running around going, what the fuck?